Hello, listeners. Today I have the pleasure of speaking with Anya Cheng, who is the founder and CEO of Taelor, an AI powered men's clothing subscription service promoting sustainable fashions. Anya is a Silicon Valley entrepreneur and has been recognized among girls in Tech 40 under 40 for her expertise in tech product management and marketing. Has played a pivotal role in launching Facebook and Instagram shopping at Meta, led new business expansion at eBay, and helped grow McDonald's global food delivery. She's also helped shape Target's mobile commerce and has led teams in AI, e-commerce, product management, and marketing across Fortune 500 companies. Anya's award-winning venture Taylor AI was named one of the Bay's area's most innovative startups to watch by Business Journal and is backed by early investors in NVIDIA, TikTok, Facebook, Lyft, and Spotify. It truly is incredible how much Anya has created throughout her career and is a prime example of living and working fearlessly. I hope you enjoy this episode as much as I did. Welcome to the Live Fearlessly podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Benjamin Ritter, and it's time to get fearless. So Anya, thanks for being on the show. I took a look at your background and have to say, it's like I don't think there's a company that you've worked for or been a part of that didn't like raise my eyebrows. How impressive. And I imagine our audience will think the same. Were those names intentional or was it like happenstance? I know there's a lot of them when you think about your career path.
I think looking back to my career, I was always almost thinking of how can I prove myself. And that's also part of the reason why I started a company because at one point I realized I wasn't thinking about what I want, was more thinking about how can I pull myself. For example, I start my career working for Sears, leading their personalizations and marketing teams and data scientist role. And then since Target seems better than Sears, so then I joined Target to help them to open a new business in tablet and mobile commerce space and help them launch a tech office here in Silicon Valley. And when I was in Target, my mom, who is back in Taiwan, said she never heard of this Target. Like, what's the company Target? Can you work for a company that I hadn't heard of? So then I joined McDonald's and as a senior director, help them to launch food delivery globally. Mom, you can get your burgers. This is my apps. Or my mom go to a store, it's like, oh, they're the kiosks. From the kiosk was made by my team. And then when I was at McDonald's, I realized if I want to run a tech company or tech team, I better to be in a tech company instead of more operation driven retailer. So eBay reached out and they were looking for a leader for head of product, that their new business in the US and Latin America, Africa, Asia. So I joined them and started leading global business and in tech companies. And after working for eBay's and Meta, Facebook, Instagram, Shopping, reach out, they were looking for someone with Africa experience. Why does Taiwanese have Africa experience? Yes, because I was leading emerging market for eBay. So they were trying to look for someone who have experience in Africa because they were trying to bring internet to the countries that didn't have internet as their internet.org Facebook connectivity initiative. So then I joined them from leading business in country that has internet in Africa to countries that didn't have good internet in Africa. And after working there for years, their e-commerce team reach out because they all see opportunity in Instagram shopping, Facebook shopping. People like to use social media to shop. But at that time, there was no Instagram shopping or Facebook shopping. People have to land on other website, which leading traffic outside of those platforms, which is not something they like. So they realized I have e-commerce background and asked me to help them on that. And then later on, because when I was looking at my career, I always look for what's better. And I never really asked what I really want. So after Meta, I wasn't sure where I should go. I can continue climbing the corporate ladder, or I can work for Google or OpenAI, or seems kind of similar company in terms of scale. And then it was a moment that I realized I never really asked myself what I'm looking for. And then at that point of time, I happened to have something that really obsessed about. I have always loved helping people achieve their goals. I publish books. I on TED Talk twice. I achieve my American dream. So I always loved sharing and inspiring people and help other people. And at that moment, I realized when I feel imposter syndrome, I want to look good. So I try subscription boxes, but all of them require you to buy. They style you, but you have to buy before you can wear. I try rental company, but then you have to pick. And it was a aha moment that I realized fashion company are for people who are into fashion, not for people like me who just want to get ready for the day. And that's how Taylor was born.
Well, it's really interesting. It's like you've made these mega moves, one for mom, and then more also strategic just in terms of how you want to grow your career. And kind of serendipitous. It's like, I need this experience. This company reached out, or internally, these companies reached out, eventually leading you to wanting to do something that made sounds like it aligned with something that you truly wanted to do at this stage of your life, and to help people, everyday people not have to buy clothes, but they don't have to be fashion stylists to look good. It's I'm going back to some of these like position changes that you've made. You said that like they reached out, was there any sort of like movement or trial from you to like get immersed into these companies, or was it really that they were reaching out and you were vetting these opportunities just because you had a background that they were interested in?
Yeah, all of them reach out, but I think some the reason they also know how to reach out was because I do active in the industry, right? I go to
Mm.
conference, I go on networking events, and when there's speaking opportunity, if a company allow, I took it. I was on TED Talks, and so I think it's definitely they reach out proactively, but I have been active on LinkedIn and on other places. I help people when people reach out. Even though it's not about jobs, it's about just they are looking for job. For example, I help people. I When I was at Meta, there was internal portal to submit resume for people. I submit like over like few hundred per year. At one point, they actually have to ask me. They ask me like, "Oh, are you sure you know those people? Are they good?" So because I refer so many people. So I think I just being active in the community and helping people, and that's why people knows me, and even though it's a loose tie, so when job opportunity come out and they find me, or when recruiter reach out to me, even when I was not looking for opportunity, I tend to refer them someone else. So they always reach out because they know that I will help them. I think it's the giver scam mentality that I don't know when or where that I might need their help. So whenever they are looking for someone, I think my superpower is actually a connector. So I know a lot of people, and I help people. I love keeping in touch with people. So then end up that those community come back to me. And they kind of type the same thing in flight, reflect in my current job and or like my startups. So when I start a company, we actually didn't have any investor yet. It was less than 3 years ago, and at that time, I started a company with my University of Chicago MBA classmates, and so we went to MBA 10 years ago together. And then fast forward 3 years ago, we started a company. So a lot of our investors were just our classmates and our professor. So I reached out to the professor saying that we are looking for venture capitalists as our investor. And the professor said, I don't know anyone, but I can refer you another of my students who is also a founder. I had a conversation with a founder. In the conversation, I forgot that I was trying to ask for his help. I was just genuinely trying to help him. So I refer a whole bunch clients to him. He's in the AI camera space. I refer him bodyguard. Remember, I went to Africa that didn't have internet, right? So we have a lot of bodyguard there. So I refer a whole bunch of those people to him. A few weeks after, he circled back to me. He said, "Hey, thank you so much for your help. I How can I help? Or why did you reach out at first place?" And I said, "Hey, yeah, I forgot. I was trying to ask you to refer your investor to me." So he refers Berlin Capital, which is the one of the best VC in the US. They invest over 20 unicorn, including Spotify. live in the car, along with our later on in Spotify was invested by our later investor, Water Capital, and they are very close. So in half an hour conversation with the VC, we got $1 million.
Yeah. There's a through line of values here, connecting, giving. I guess what else would you say has been a core to your success, which I imagine also is a core to who you are? So it's this giver and this connector, and what else do you hold dear?
Yeah, I think it's more like everyone has their superpower. I you say that when I as a leader, I tend to not building a all-star team because if you look at NBA, the all-star team, the game isn't very good, but the championship game is really good. But in the championship game, not everyone is all-star. So it's more about putting as a leader, it's more about putting the puzzle together. How can you find things that help people and then achieve the goal together? Like LeBron and Curry are both great player, but they play very differently. Apple and Android are very different product. They are both very popular. It's a lot of users, but they are very, very differently. Like at Taylor, our customers are people who are not into fashion, want to look good. A lot of people ask me, "Oh, is this similar to when Rent the Runway or Newly, those women's rental company, Newly make 500 million per year, seems a great company. Are you just trying to copy that and doing a men version?" I said that's not true because in a woman's rental company, the problem they are address is women want to look good, and by wearing different things every day. Women want to wear different things every day. That's why we rent. In our model for Taylor, most of our customers want to look good without using their brand. They don't want to think. They don't want to
Mm,
shop. They
mhm.
don't want to do laundry. The motivation is very different. And in fact, they don't even care about looking good. They care about looking good so that they can get a job, get a date, close a deal. As long as they can get a girlfriend, boyfriend, they don't care what they wear. So it's actually very different motivation and very different business. So it's always about thinking back on what this is truly the same difference.
Yeah, knowing your customer truly, knowing what their problems are, what they're trying to solve. So I'm hearing connector, giver, strategizer, problem solver. Like looking at your background, there was some entrepreneurship in between all these mega companies, and before I think Taylor and such too. It's when did you really know that you wanted to kind of build your own thing instead of help someone build their own thing?
I think it was more of a timing, right? Like after I have worked for this big tech company and it happened to have this idea that I obsessed in mind. At that time I was working for Meta and I led large teams with a lot of resources. But I'm an immigrant. I'm from Taiwan. I'm a woman. I'm a woman with a color. I am not an engineering background. And mostly in tech company, only people who can code, I actually speak very loud. I came from as a marketer background. I did work my way up as leading the entire e-commerce team, including engineers, but I'm not a coder. So I always felt a little bit imposter syndrome. And I realized that looking good helped me feel like at least I'm ready for my day. No one knows I'm freaking out because I know I look good, even though in my heart that I'm freaking out every day. So I realized it was really helpful. Almost like when I'm teaching at Northwestern University, my student told me that after they buy the textbook, they feel great. They haven't read it yet, but they feel great, right?
Yeah.
Just like a New Year resolution, as soon as we signed up for the gym membership, we feel great, even though we
Yeah.
haven't used it yet. We haven't lost any weight yet. So I think that was really helpful in terms for me on the like peace of mind. So I happen to really have the idea, feel like why there's not fashion company for people who are not into fashion. The world needs something like this, like gadget guy behind the superhero, like the fairy godmother, like the executive assistant, like the concierge service for modern people. And I
Mhm.
think it's more of a combination of the timing that I have gone through big corporations, the idea that I
Mhm.
happen to have and I love at the moment, love. And I also most important, one of the most important reason was also because I have a team. So if I were just by myself starting a startup from people who didn't have any entrepreneurship background, besides working for this like startup within big company, could be very scary. But at the same time, my co-founder currently, who was my MBA classmate, she actually say, "Hey, I am big in sustainability. I know today 30% of clothes go directly from factory to landfill, generating 10% of carbon emissions." Her name is Phoebe. She grew up wanting to be a fashion designer, but she actually became an accountant. Came from a Malaysian American family, so her entire career was actually in finance. So she said, "Hey, you know what? I actually love this, and I have always wanted to do something in sustainability in fashion. So why don't we start a business?" So I think these three things combined was the right timing.
Funny how those things tend to happen when you show up authentically as yourself and face what might be afraid and say yes to those things. I also noticed in your background that around the time kind of left that big business, you became a mentor, you started teaching. How, did you purpose, like, I guess I'm just curious too, like, how did those opportunities show up and what made you say yes to them?
Yeah, so I teach at 500 Global, teach at Northwestern University. I kind of similar to the job thing. They do reach out, but they reach out not because that they happen to find the best person who can teach. It was more of a because I have been involved. So I'm a Northwestern University alumni. I got my master degree in marketing there. So throughout the last 10 years, I have been on guest speaking all the time on many different courses. I'm here in Silicon Valley, so when students visiting from Chicago to here in the Bay Area, I help them to coordinate to find company to visit to Meta, to eBay and Target, McDonald's. So I have always been in the loose tie within the community. So a few years ago, they have a professor pass away, and so they were looking for another person to co-teaching with the professor, another professor. So they thought of me, and it happened to be right at the beginning of COVID. So they were fine with someone who teach remote and instead of in Chicago. So I took the job. I started teaching one class, and students love the class. So from teaching in marketing school, became teaching in MBA class, in journalism school, in engineering school, in law school. The same course, just being invited to teach in different classes again and again. And then after COVID ended, they love the class, so they fly me back and forth to Chicago and start teaching them. And then after my startup become busier, I said I cannot really travel again, and this is just too much work, destructive for my startup. So they say, "Oh, how about this? You change it to teach executive program because it's online course, so then you can back to just teaching online." So the same thing for 500 Global. I started teaching when I was at Meta. And at that time, I wasn't even interested in startups, but they happened to have someone there happened to reach out, and they were looking for people with a strong background in social commerce, which was what I did at Meta. And funny enough, that I teach a guy. He was a college dropout. I was thinking like the first meeting with him, he was very unorganized. He was in a very dark like basement. I couldn't really see his face. He was like 15 minutes late. Was nothing prepared, and just there was no fancy background whatsoever. So I was like, why this guy can get into this top accelerator in the world? So I was like, oh, you know what? I really think your website isn't great. You need to do better call to action, blah, 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 blah. He said, oh, okay. And then a week went by. I was thinking, I have to talk to this guy again. And he showed up. Is like looks like he wasn't prepared. He's like, oh, I don't have anything. The only thing I have this is our new website. You want to take a look? And there was a moment that I realized that's why he was able to get into the top accelerator. He's definitely a man with actions. So funny enough, it was that a year after I was so inspired, I started my own company, and now he became my mentor because he was 1 year ahead of me. So I asked him a whole bunch of entrepreneurship questions, and we became really good friends and helping each other. So I think teaching is actually a really good way to learn.
Yeah. Yeah, very much so. And I got a little bit of taste of that this past year too. And it's very true. Like when you are out there, when you're doing things, like energy attracts energy. And if you're helping people, then and it doesn't even have to be your intent. Help also comes your way, even though sometimes it can be hard to ask for it when you're the one usually giving it. It's it's very true. People sometimes look at like what I've done or how I work and they go, "Ben, your battery is just bigger. It's just bigger. You do more, you like moving, you like working, you like helping, you like connecting. I look at your background, I go, your battery must be also pretty big in terms of like how much you can do, how much you maybe you work." And I guess like what are your own goals right now?
Yeah, so for Taylor, we are a VC backed business backed by top VC behind like Nvidia, Spotify, Facebook, TikTok. So our investor were expecting us to go public within 5 to 7 years, or 90% of startup end up being acquired in versus going IPO. So expecting to be 3 to 5 years being acquired by fashion companies and retailers, company who want to tap on busy men in the US. And we see ourselves starting being more of a one-stop shop for busy men. Our customer not just renting clothes or using our AI stylist or human stylist to help them, but they also ask us, where are my shoes, accessories, Valentine's Day gift? They treat us more like their concierge service to get peace of mind. They are buying the time. They are buying the convenience. So we also found that the data that we got has been extremely valuable. The reason that today that 30% of clothes goes to landfill was because brand they tend to outsource it to big manufacturer, they outsource it to small factory. They got the clothes, they sell it to the wholesaler and sell it to retailers and eventually consumer. After this 5 step or even more supply chain, they really don't get feedback from customer. Customers say your clothes too big. What do you mean? Sleeve too long, 1 inch too long, 1.5 inch too long, the shoulders too big, or chest too big. Like for whom? For professors in Austin and for New Yorker, for Midwest people, or for after clothes renting how many times? Washing 5 times it shrink, or washing 5 times he became more loose. Like in what situation? So most of the brands, they never really get real time or real feedback back to them. And that's why they keep producing junk. So what we have found was that the data has been extremely valuable to help them to stop producing junk so the work can be better. Yes, we can monetize their unsold inventory through rental to customer, and customer rent, and after renting, customer can buy. But then if they keep producing junk, the work is not going to be better. So we are also making AI agent and sell back to the fashion brand to help them to predict what's going to sell. So my goal would be on like being more of both one-stop shop for busy man, one-stop shop for fashion brand and retailer, as well as that helping the company, like growing the company to the stage that we can access to help our investors, and then can be also getting a different scale with a public company.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so going back to that, like, probably have a large battery in terms of what keeps you motivated, how much you can do. Sometimes also, like, what keeps you interested, looking at your background, you've had, you know, shorter stints at these mega companies, and now you've had a big longer stint with your own business, and then seems to have this runway in terms of growth. I guess, how do you keep yourself interested and excited and motivated, or how do you recharge? While kind of being now, with your business. I know there's other people that you work with, but I imagine it's a kind of a different environment than working at a big company.
Yeah, I think there's a difference from being a founder versus big companies. And so that being founder every day is different, right? So people ask me how does it different from before, or and like if I look back last 10 years and I have up and downs, and if I look at the same level of up and down, I probably experienced them in the last 10 months. So in being a startup founder, I last year I talked to over 10 C-level executive of Fortune 100 company. But at the same time, I spend sometimes with our blue collar worker. I went to Home Depot with my colleague, and then we asked each one of the workers on the street, like English, English, English. Whoever say yes, get on the car and go warehouse and pack it. so then we can make sure our shipping is going out on time. So the day is very, very different. The people we interface is very different. When I was working for big tech company, we thought we are diversified enough with people from different country, different background. And after becoming founder, I realized no, when I was working for big tech company, everyone think alike. They are all the same background with Ivy League school, worked for Google before. They were trained by the OKR and Scrums and KPIs and business logics and how to write business plan. We all think very like. But being a startup founder, we start interact with people in the fashion industry, in the Hollywood, because we offer service for a date for with dating side, with entertainment industry, as the talent agent company. We partner with East Coast enterprise to help the employee look good. There could be very traditional accounting firms or law firms. So I start realize that people actually think very differently. Or our fashion designer and stylists, they think very differently. And we work with 150 brand from Johnson and Murphy, Marine Layer Cuts, BYOT, some very cool like hip hop streetwear brands in Japan versus some brand in Netherlands and Turkey or New York. It's very, very different people. So I think that that's what make the startup life very exciting. It could be overwhelming too, because you could be doubting on figure out a lot of solution to solve a lot of problems, but it could be also it's also very exciting because every day is very different. I think what drive me is that when it comes to customer stories, we know we help our customer look good. So then one customers that he was actually getting divorced. So he said, I just want outfit to help me win at court. We have a customer who were ready to got a new job. So first time interviewing as a data scientist. He recently got a master degree in data scientist. We have a client who are pastor and he's trying to kind of motivate the entire church. So there are lots of different background people, and if you put really a small story into each one of them, it is really fulfilling to know how it really impact other people.
Yeah. So interesting how our days evolve from working for someone and working for ourselves and having a variety of like the problems are just there. Like what's standing in the way of growing this business and serving our customers? And how do I stay connected to that customer to find meaning? And it's everything you've shared is like outside of yourself. It just sounds like this idea of kind of giving and connecting just as a through line to a lot of the things that you've done, a lot of things that you share, and what keeps you going and motivated. I guess what have been some of the unexpected struggles or difficulties on this?
Yeah, I think I never really felt any disadvantage of female being a female people with color or as immigrant in the US before until I became a founder. People say that a lot, like bamboo ceilings and woman in tech, woman in leadership. But I would say I feel like big tech company did a pretty good jobs. Or could be because big tech company with so many people, even if you are senior director, you are still not high up enough to be experience that kind of problem that severely. But being a founder is quite different because when you are go out raising money and you see other founders, pretty much 90% are men. And in the US alone, 50% of business are created by female founder. In Silicon Valley, over 35% are tech company are created by female founder. But in the venture capital space, only 1.8%, not 18%, 1.8% funding are actually going to female founded company. That's crazy amount of number. One time I was in TechCrunch and I talked to a finalist of their competition. She is a about 50 years old serial entrepreneur, build and sold company successful and white guy, like very polished confidence. And I was commenting on her outfit. I was like, "Yay, you looks great. Oh, I love your jewelry." She has a giant diamond on her finger. I said, "I love your jewelry. Match your outfit perfectly. Looks great." And she's like, "Oh, no, 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 I'm not married. I have this on because I'm going on pitch tomorrow. And research shows that men trust women who are married more because at least another man trusts her." That comment was insane. You was coming from a serial founder who successfully built and sold a company as a global finalist for TechCrunch Disrupt. And was you I was shocked because I always thought it was just me. I'm an immigrant from Taiwan. No, like I'm one woman with color. So that's why that's I have disadvantage. So but I think that was at beginning I feel bad. I feel bad for the world. I feel angry and I think life is not fair. But then I switched my mindset. I thought, okay, if people only like to do business with people who like them, then I'm going to find most of the minorities. If I find gay and women and people with colors and immigrants, if I find all of the minority, then I am the majority. So I start talking to people who are like African Americans and Nigerian Americans and Turkish and Indians and Chinese and also women and people who have a little bit different background than rest of their colleagues and outside of ethnicities and whatever things. Most a lot of people are minority in some way. So that's how we were eventually got into investors of like Goodwater, like they are largest consumer tech VC in the world. They invest in company like Spotify, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, or founder of YouTube and early investor of NVIDIA and TSMC. I think it was because the mindset eventually changed. And after I feel bad for a while.
I love how you heard something. It's like this is not okay. You go, well, how do I manage that? What can I do to improve my odds here in this situation? Well, go to the others. Go to the people that I know where that perception is not going to hold me back in an unfair way as it does throughout the industry. And raise your voice like you are now to hopefully that we can kind of change the game and create more attention around VC investment. Um, I really do appreciate you sharing your story today. I guess, and you think about our audience that are, kind of paving their own paths forward. And I have to keep in mind, not everyone has the same level of energy to spend. Uh, I think that might be an unfair thing to say, but some people have different limits they place on themselves in terms of what they can do, what they can't do. Um, but they want more right now. Is what's one like piece of advice, maybe a billboard that you'd want to share with them, just to say, like, this is the one thing you need to do. Like for everything else, just gonna put that aside that I feel is important. What would you tell them?
I think it's usually your strengths. Everyone has different strengths. High energy doesn't mean the strengths. Could be low energy make people feel calm and comfortable with strengths, right? So if I look back from my career, I when I graduated in 2008, when Lehman Brothers went bankruptcy, I would not like I will buy a newspaper from the street and then I cold calling each of newspaper of the CEO because they say publisher name so and so. If you want advertise, call this number. And eventually I met with the executive of the New York Times and CNN because at that time my career girl was working for a media company. And people think I'm crazy, but my only job before my master degree was a reporter. So that was the only thing I know how to do, which is find people's contact and call them. And when I was interviewing, I couldn't get any campus recruiting interview because there was almost no job anywhere in 2008. So I would wait in all other different departments. Whenever they have a campus recruiting, school have a website, you can find when and where they are, and I will wait outside as soon as they came out. I send them my resume. And people say again, you're crazy. But I used to be a reporter waiting outside and give someone something or like my microphone. It was my old job. But I think looking back was because I used what I know as my strengths. And my strengths are obviously very different from other people. But because I'm using my strengths, so I didn't feel it was hard. And since you're not thinking that's hard, then you are willing to try again. And is that things of you try again and again and again, the failure was actually practicing for success, eventually get you into see the light in the tunnel, and then you were able to cross the finish line. So So I would sort of encourage people to think about what's your strengths. Like my husband's actually as a chef, he is very, very introvert. I always have bad with people say if you can talk to like more than 10 sentences with my husband, then I think you are really good as a communicator. Because when I say, how's your day? Good. How was your week? Fine. That's it. So, but he came from a supply chain background. So being a chef, he orders stuff the best. Like there's no inventory in the refrigerator. Everything used perfectly. There's no waste whatsoever. He has a supply chain background. He knows how to make sure the inventory is well and then the process is great. The kitchen go out with right on time. And he sometimes say, I jealous people who have a lot of creativity. Some chef, they don't even need processes. They just, how about this and this and tastes good. So, but I think everyone's different. So find your way. Are you a Curry or are you a LeBron? They all great player, but they play differently. So think about your strengths.
Mhm. So, if our listeners want to learn more about your strengths, where can they find out more about you and Taylor?
Yeah, so go on Taylor.style. That's Taelor.style. If you want to look great, feel confident, but don't want to do any shopping or laundry, feel free to use a code podcast25 to get 25% of first month's menswear rental subscriptions. Or if it is something that perfect gift for people who don't want to spend time. So holiday Valentine's Day, Father's Days, and use a code podcast gift to get 10% of gift card. And if you want to be a business partner, we partner with a lot of different 300, like over 300 fashion brands, and we work with dating site, career coach, executive coach consultants. We also working with a lot of corporate as an employee gift and perk to help your employee look great without spending extra time. And so, our investors who want to partner or look for companies that was in magazine best start of year, then reach out to me. My email is Anya Anya at Taelor.ai Taelor.ai.
And all that's going to be in the show notes, everybody. So, if you're interested, take a look. And I wanted to say thank you, Anya, for your time, sharing your story, and for the impact that you've had, probably not just through your business, but through your giving and through the fact that you're a connector. I work with clients a lot on kind of paving the path to that next opportunity and growing where they are and just living fearlessly. And I tell them, like, you got to find the connector. Like, there's gonna be a lot of people that say no. There's a lot of people that ignore you, a lot of people that just ghost. But you're going to find one person that's going to want to help you just because it just drives them, it excites them, it brings them joy. And you find that person, hold them close. And I said, thank you for what you've done. Thank you for who you are. And thank you for what you're building. And also thank you for your time today.
Thanks, Lisa, Anya at Taylor.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Now get out there and live fearlessly.